You are now listening to KRAN's podcast, Stories Without Limits. Thank you for tuning in. Hello and welcome to KRAN's podcast, Stories Without Limits. I'm your host, Rishan, one of the media ambassador. And today we are talking to two amazing guests, Sally from the SD project and Flo from the Folkestone Leas Lift. Sally and Flo, thank you so much for being here. To start with, can you introduce yourself and let us know about yourself, your role in the work and the project that you do? Let's go to Sally.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. I actually do several different things at the moment, but everything I do is working with either asylum seekers or people who are resettled. So I run a drop-in centre in Folkestone.
Yes.
For Napier Barracks, and that opened in 2021.
Sure.
I was amongst the first group of volunteers to go into Napier Barracks when it opened in 2020, and was quite shocked at the conditions that people were living in, and started to share information with the media about what was going on. And I'd never had any experience with anything like this in my life, so it was quite daunting. And lots of things were like headline news as well. So at the time it was,
the media went really crazy.
It was a big deal. But from that, I started working with different charities, different organizations. One of them was Samfire, which Flo used to be the chair of the board. Is that right?
No, trustee.
Yeah. So, Samfire is still one of the charities that we work with on a regular basis. They send us a caseworker every week. So I started working with a group of lots of different organizations and set up a drop-in center off-site because we wanted to give people somewhere to go to access support. And also if they had issues with the accommodation, which frequently they did at the beginning, they could, we could connect them with a public law solicitor to make get a transfer out of the accommodation. But then we started running lots of different activities to support mental health. So, and which are mainly sort of arts related.
Indeed.
Workshops. We do a lot of cooking. Yeah. I mean, that's something that people like doing. It brings people together. So we've been doing that for 4 years, and it's once a week. And then I started, teaching at East Kent College, but only recently, only in the last 4 months. So I'm working with, I'm at Ashford College. And I'm teaching people mostly from a refugee background because there's a hotel in Ashford and it's mostly women, from a broad range of different countries, including Somalia, Chad, Congo. I mean, it's basically, it's sort of very, very international.
Yeah.
And I'm also working with an organization called SD Projects. So I've basically got 3 jobs at the moment. SD Projects, which is SD stands for Simon Davenport.
Yeah.
And they're a fabricator based in Folkestone. So fabricator for, artists. And they've been working alongside the Triennial, for the last 10 years, but working with the East Kent Islamic community, helping them to, at the moment, I think sort of really rethink the mosque, in Folkestone and the future of the mosque because it's very small.
Sure.
And the space that they have for women at the mosque is not really suitable. So I think the women often come up to Canterbury if they can. They go to the University of Kent.
Yes. There is in Kent University.
Yeah. So I think the plan is eventually to create a better space.
Sure.
And so SD Projects is now sort of involved with envisioning how that's going to happen, working with architects and artists. And one of the things we're doing is a reading room, which will open to coincide with the Triennial on the 19th of July, which will have a low seating area. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. Is it called a majlis? Yeah, like a low Middle Eastern style seating area. And we're working with
majlis.
Majlis.
Yeah.
Like a space where people congregate.
Of course.
And we're doing that on Tontine Street in the old post office. And we're working with an artist called Farwa Moladina. She's of Tanzanian and Yemeni heritage. She's very young. She's like an up and coming artist. She's had shows at places like Icon in Birmingham. And she's designing the fabric with local women from the mosque. So We've already got the designs for the fabric, and that's all going to be installed over the next week. And it's opening on the 19th. So please come.
Indeed.
So that's.
Thank you so much. It's good to know.
Well, I'm really interested to hear about what you're doing as well. So
of course, thank you so much, Sally. It's a lot that you do, and not only just for 1 day or 2 days. You've got so many people that you engage with, and especially internationally. And to be honest, like I was one of those young people when first time I came to learn the language, and that was the most important things for us. And just to have that someone to be there and then just trying to teach you and then to learn you, but also to just navigate your way in the country is a huge support. So thank you so much. Flo, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Floortje Hoette. I'm a Dutch national. I've lived in UK since 2006. Okay. My day-to-day job is chief executive for the Folkestone Leas Lift, which is an old funicular lift that connects the Leas Promenade, the top bit of Folkestone, with the beach. Sure. There was a lot of those lifts built in the Victorian period, so that's around 1880s. Yeah. Anniversary. Because it was a good way at the time to bring people to the seaside. Sure. And, at the time that they were built, there was not the roads as we know them now. Yeah. And the cliffside was treacherous to negotiate, especially when you had these huge dresses on, which they were wearing at the time. So lots of these funicular lifts popped up all over the country. There's now only 15 remaining in the UK, and we are one of them. The Leas Lift is one of the 3 water balanced lifts in the country. So it works with gravity and water. So it's a very green way of traveling. Sure. The lift ran from 1885 up to 2017, and then it closed. Yeah. And since then, volunteers have come together and have worked very hard to get funds together to restore it and open it back to the public.
Funny enough, that I came in 2015. I could have visited, but I didn't know anything about it during that time. Yeah. You said 2017, so I had 2 years that I could have go on the top.
And it's not very visible from the top, so you could have easily have missed it. And I don't think it was open all the time in the last years. It was run by volunteers, and they did what they could. But there was unfortunately lack of money, and it had to close. But spring next year, we hope to open. In the project, we're reaching out to lots of people because we want everyone to feel ownership of the lift. This is a community asset, really. We're bringing something back to the community, and we want the community to use it on a day-to-day basis. Sure. So that's the local residents of Folkestone, of course, but also lots of other groups that live in and around Folkestone. The new residents to the town. So we're working with lots of different community groups. Just to name some, we work with Mind, we work with Age UK, older people with additional needs. And we also work together with KRAN.
Indeed.
Yaz is our community engagement manager, and she's been reaching out to lots of different groups, and she's arranging a whole series of workshops, kind of revolving around the lifts, but it's also very much art based, and it's all about bringing people together. Using the lift as a vehicle, I suppose, but Absolutely. It's about, well-being. It's about connecting, and for, different groups to make art together and be happy.
And I know Folkestone is so full of creativity there. Like every time you go there, you just see the art and the colors. Yeah. I do agree with you. And especially when I go to Folkestone, there's lots of creativity there, the colors and the housing. And recently, just talking about community, that we celebrated Refugee Week, and that was all about community as a superpower. And you mentioned a lot of organizations, and especially Age UK and then Mind. And I know we were really honored, to have KRAN, one of those 20 local groups that you've chosen. And I think it's just, I always say that, the way how I wish people to look at, our story, or we are part of the community. Yeah. Than to think that you separate us from the community and thinking we just all that kind of negativity around, media and how it's being presented. Yeah. This is it's community that was bringing us together, and it's always there since, long time ago. And just to see, as I said to you, I missed the lift on when I was 2015. But again, it's to bring community together, and it's just to have that that positive outcome, like in just how people can just be together also. It can be from different background, different story, but it's always been there. And how is it for you?
Exactly. And that's exactly what we're trying to achieve with the lift. The lift has been there for such a long time. It's 140 years old this year. And it's been kind of a silent witness in Folkestone, sitting on the cliffside, looking at the many transformations of the town. It used to be a really sleepy fisherman's village in the 19th century. Then it became a seaside destination for the wealthy. And then it slowly developed. It went through 2 world wars where it became, barracks were stationed there. People left for war from Folkestone. Mm-hmm. And then in the 60s, it became again a seaside destination for English people wanting, a holiday. And then slowly it turned into this wonderful arts, center, which is thriving and attracts lots of different people. I think, like you said with food, I think art is very much a connector.
Yeah.
It brings people in touch with each other. Anything creative, I think just goes across boundaries, across cultures. Everyone wants to connect in that way. And I think we all have it in ourselves to be creative. And, we just want the lift to be, as I said, a vehicle through which we do lots of other things.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned one of the idea, creative writing project with KRAN young people based on the theme of the water. Like, could you just tell us more about this one?
So water is of course a very important element in the lift. It's a water balance lift. Just to explain you a little bit the mechanics, if I may.
Yeah.
So we have 2 carriages that go up and down the cliffside. They're connected by a big steel band, and that band goes over a big sheave wheel, which sits at the top.
Yeah.
Each carriage has a water tank underneath it. Mm-hmm. And so if you have one carriage at the top, you fill the water tank with water. And as that tank fills, the carriage becomes heavier and it starts to drop. And because it's connected by a band to the other carriage, it pulls up the other carriage.
Sure.
So it's gravity and water really, that, keeps the whole thing going, and a bit of electricity.
Of course.
And, we're at the seaside, so there's water coming in there, and, water is kind of the central theme. So we thought it would be a really wonderful idea to do something, around the theme of water.
Sure.
I must add as well that we are trying in the lower lift stations, which are the waiting rooms. They were originally the waiting rooms where people waited to take the lift. So we're going to tell the story of the lift. So we'll tell the history of the lift, but also we're making community art space where you will see temporary exhibitions, which are made by the community.
Of course.
So again, it's a perfect opportunity to bring different community groups together, and then they will, curate an exhibition on a theme. And water was one of the themes. So we're really happy to work together with KRAN on that.
Thank you so much for sharing. And for Sally, why do you think like creative project like the one that you mentioned in terms of for the SD, and how is it bringing people like from a different background, but also like creating that safer space, and especially for those refugee and asylum seeker backgrounds?
So SD projects, I think they began this collaboration with the mosque about 10 years ago now with an artist, Malaysian artist called Hoi Chong Wong. Mm-hmm. And I think he was initially the connection to the mosque. And at that point in time, I mean, the mosque was very small. I'm not quite sure what the population was of attendees of the mosque, but
sure.
Not even known about really. I think many people didn't even know that there was a mosque in Folkestone because it sort of sits on this strange little cul-de-sac, but in the center of the town. And the building itself, I think, was an old mill, and it's really small. So that's why they need to expand. But so over the last 10 years and then with, working with these artists and sort of featuring in 2 triennials. So that was with Hoi Chong Wong and then with an architect called Shahid Salim, who's, a reader in architecture at the University of Westminster.
Sure.
And they've been collaborating now for years. So it just became this ongoing project and, a way, for that East Kent Islamic community as well to start to have a presence and a voice, in the town, which perhaps they hadn't had before.
Sure.
And the idea is now that SD projects, they have funding from the Arts Council. They develop And that's working with different groups, working with KRAN as well, young people from KRAN, what the future of the mosque could be like. But so they're running art workshops. And this has been this big project called Intersections. Mm-hmm. So they've done art workshops with young people from the madrasa. So children from the madrasa, effectively. And then also with KRAN, and they've gone to, Sally Hough, and they've gone collecting, stones and seaweed and all that they can find in Sally Hough, and then use that for pattern making. So they've been thinking about, Islamic art as well, particularly in that repetitive pattern making. So taking those designs that the children have made and that the people from KRAN have made, and then turning them into repeating patterns. And then thinking about, for example, I think what the ideal would be like if they could use those patterns on the outside of a new mosque in some way.
Oh, okay. And
they're developing a new type of material, which at the moment, I'm not quite sure if they've got an official name for it. It's called kelpcrete. So it's like a combination of seaweed and other materials to make a concrete, like a sustainable type of concrete. So this is part of the idea that it might be initially an art project, which will then develop into a new mosque if they have a new space. But this material will be used in the architecture, and then the patterning that's been happening in the workshops will be used as well. So it would be the young people from KRAN, and then people from the Kent Islamic community will have had, an impact on the design of that space, which would be really nice.
That's so creative. And I think it's like, what's the most, kind of things that I liked it is just kind of like, how do I say it? Basically creating a safe space for young people and the community, but also like allowing people to have that kind of sense of belonging.
Yes.
And that's they just there as well, like part of the community. We always go back to the word community, but to be there, like, for someone just to go around and then just feel like you have a sense of belonging here, regardless like where you're from. And I think, but what do you hope like for the future, and what like people like to learn or feel around this project?
I mean, I think I would like to see this just connecting to the community, but to all different sections of the community, like people from different backgrounds.
Sure.
Especially like, because this space that we're creating on Tontine Street in the old post office is right in the heart of the town. People pass by it. There's huge glass windows they'll be able to see, and it will be open to the public. We want people to come in, explore the space. It will also be a reading room. So, we've working with, the Arab British Centre and Al Tajir Trust. They've loaned their archive, and we have other archives forthcoming as well. So it's like a reading room. You can access these materials. We're also working, I think they're collaborating with King's College as well. So there's another aspect to the project too. So that will all be accessible, and it will be a space that people can use for community events. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the first instance, it was really to create the space for the women from the mosque to use. But it goes beyond that. It can be used by anybody in the community.
Of course.
So it's about making connections. It's also about visibility. I mean, it's interesting what Flo was talking about in terms of the lift, and the lift being this kind of like a watchman, sort of like seeing the whole history of town and how it's developed, and Folkestone has always been on that, let's say, front line in the First World War and the Second World War, and now it's at the forefront of this very polarized debate around migration.
Indeed.
So it's very challenging, but I feel like I want to be part of changing that narrative. That
Indeed.
You don't need to be afraid of people who are coming here to actually make their lives better and contribute to society. And that's a wonderful thing.
And going back to when you said Folkestone being in a history for welcoming, is it take us back to when they came,
this is
how that welcoming environment was created. But nowadays, I think a lot of people, they have a fear of something that they think that they don't know what does that mean, but it's just to have that kind of curiosity of approaching and understanding. And I guess it's like, as you mentioned, it's like open in the middle of the, I think in the center of Folkestone, where people can just see, and then that will kind of bring people to just say, oh, what is that? And then let me just explore and what's happening and make people to have that kind of open heart of just learning, even if you don't agree or disagree, whatever kind of that negative shift that a lot of people they have. Yes, just being an open to something new again.
And as you're mentioning about the Belgian refugees, well, the Huguenots, but Belgian refugees, particularly from Folkestone in the First World War, and the difference in how the Belgian refugees were welcomed, as opposed to now. And there's all these myths as well, sort of around people coming on small boats and the barracks. I think everybody thinks that the barracks are only to house people who've literally just arrived and they go straight to Napier Barracks, which absolutely doesn't happen. And about 52% of people at Napier Barracks have come by plane. And they will have been dispersed throughout the country first before they end up at Napier Barracks, and may never have been to Kent before. So
I guess there's a story to tell, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So again, like that space as well is about breaking down those misconceptions.
Absolutely.
And particularly working with this artist, Farwa Mouladina, that's what she's about, is deconstructing the perception of Muslim women in her work, which is also really interesting as like actually quite empowering as well in terms of like the history of Muslim women and their role in mosque building, for example, and that they were actually the inheritors of wealth in the past. And that was actually to do with Egyptian history as well. We had a specialist who came called Omnia Bar.
Okay.
And she came to talk about the history of women in 19th century mosque building in Cairo, which is really fascinating. But there's lots of different aspects to it.
Indeed. A lot of people thinking they're having one story, but they don't understand the actual until like you approach that person and then ask them, like, tell me your story and where you're from.
Yeah.
And just go to flow. Like, what do you hope for people in the future to learn or feel? It's the same questions like when the time opened the capsule, like for the Leas Lift.
Oh, the capsule. I just wanted to follow up on what you were saying, because I think it's so true about breaking down barriers. And in a way, it's strange that, you know, in our part of Kent, there's this weird sentiment about newcomers, because I think seaside towns, you know, by history have always been outward looking towns, you know, welcoming loads of different groups. I mean, that's kind of the nature of a seaside town. So I agree. Our role is almost to break down that barrier and to remind people of the original spirit of Folkestone through our projects. Now the time capsule.
Yeah.
So the lift being that silent witness, we thought, you know, what better to create a time capsule, because the lift really connects the past with the present and the future.
Futures, yeah.
It's also a way for us to raise funds for the restoration, because it's a heritage project and costly. We thought if people give us a small donation and then in exchange can leave a message in a time capsule, we hope to capture that positive spirit of the town and all those inspirational messages that people have in them. I still believe that people are innately good, but just change because of circumstances. So we wanted to pull that out of people and, you know, we wanted to make it personal. And, you know, there's lots of good to share as well with people. It's not all negative what's now happening in the world. So that's kind of what we wanted to achieve with it. We gave 20 brass plates to the community groups we're working with because we just wanted to make sure that their voice was heard. And it's just been really heartwarming and quite emotional to get those messages back because, again, I hope that we achieve that people feel heard and that their voice is heard and that it makes people think, you know, who read those messages and maybe have a double take or a reflection. So that's what we're hoping to achieve. And we hope that in 50 years time, people will still, you know, well, maybe they're forgotten about. And then all of a sudden these, you know, brass plates will be uncovered again. And, you know, those messages don't get out of date. You know, they'll always remain valid.
Absolutely. It's a history, like later on, it's going to be like whatever like would happen today is going to be for the future.
And if, you know, and as a newcomer to this area, you know, I would hope that people by doing this feel that they have stake, you know, a stake in this region. It's theirs as much as it's everybody else's.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's just last, is there's anything that you would like to share with the KRAN community or our listeners today? from both sides.
Come and use the lift and come and see us. We too have are working on a lovely social space. We just want everybody to feel welcome and, share your creativity with us and have a positive experience at the lift.
Thank you so much. And Sally?
Yeah, likewise for us. Come and see the reading room, which will be open from the 19th of July, and it will be open, I think, daily. And it's also a space that you can book for events as well for free. And there will be a series of workshops happening there over the summer. So you can find those on the SD Project's website or on their socials. So yeah, we look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sally and Flo. Thank you so much for both for sharing your thoughts and an idea and about the word community is amazing. And as we celebrated Refugee Week, it's community as superpower. And that's what makes us like all together. We are individual, different personality, different background, but we're still in the community. We are all one. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and for just being here and with this heat again. We can't wait to see how this journey unfolds and how KRAN's young people would help shaping the Leas Lift and also like for them to access the opportunity that you just mentioned. And thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
To our listeners, stay tuned for updates on the Time Capsule campaign with KRAN. You can follow us on social media or visit our website at kran.org.uk to learn more and get involved. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Till next time, stay creative and stay curious.